All right, Elon, I know you're one of the busiest people on the planet, if not the busiest. So I came up with a way to privatize your Department of Government Efficiency. I think you should hire me for this, and I think that I can help you restore anybody who's doubling back or vandalizing Tesla stores, Tesla supercharging stations. This is so in line with everything you've ever fought for, with an Occupy Mars, evolution of government, getting a progressive business and industry or science-based leader permanently partnered with the president through government efficiency focus. I call that person a chief visionary officer. They're all about engaging your public to chase after the goals that we set. Now, with cryptocurrency, I have a better way for how we launch a crypto reserve. Could be a valuable thing in our economy. We want to launch it like the FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. We're going to ensure that we believe in cryptocurrency, but we're going to have this insurance always proportionally divided amongst the companies that are driving more than 80% of the market capitalization, and that way that it's open democratically. It ensures the market, but people can come to drive that market in different ways. If a new cryptocurrency comes to drive more of the market because it's got a better business model or whatever else, they will rise to the top. And you've still created your fund, you've created your strategic reserve, it's still valuable. I thought of that plan because through social media, Elon, there's a way to, and I want to bring this up right away, because I estimate I have this little bit of this bell curve model with supplemental content and then a subscription model. But every one of the social medias will be competing over this pitch alert system, an IP alert networking system. And it will be like an engineer's log. You will have specialized ways of consolidating comments from different social medias and proving point of origin on a set of ideas. You also want, as part of this initiative, the articles companies really to work on a foundational architecture where they're releasing their articles, and you don't have to worry about anybody. You want a set date. You don't want people to be able to backdate articles in their platform and be able to say they were released earlier than they were. You want a bulletproof system for saying here is point of origination on a set of ideas. So you want to be able to track which system came to the table first at what date with said idea. And so that's a part of this. And so again, I've got this complex strategy which recognizes that you're going to have multiple businesses coming together to drive a market. And so I talk about these addendums. And so our future will be about new separation of powers that positions the government to combine the regulation and do the regulation as the private sector is developing the future, so that they can develop effective regulation as it relates to how things can be regulated with all things considered. Because with crypto, you want an identity product layer that ties to wallets, and then you can still accomplish your account freezes on an identity level, and you can still manage your effective policing in the nation. So even in the crypto industry, you need this level where markets tie together so that you can still feather it together to the overall grid that we're maintaining as a society. And so the same thing is going to be true with AI driving, Elon. You're going to want to be talking about how I have some drafting in my articles of incorporation that would talk about that. They talk about the insurance networks, at-fault context. There's going to be a telemetry system, so many things. And you could be recruiting if you had the right project engagement system. Elon, this could go so far for your team. You could think about paying in tax with your companies anyway. Structure that so that you're in control of that tax that you pay, and get people to strategically reinvest in your company with money that you would be paying in tax otherwise anyway. And then they will be incentivized to care about the new battery technology that can make Teslas double their range or whatever else. And then you're going to be creating an incentivized model where people are going to be helping you toe the line with your objectives as a government of the people. Incentivized model as a government of the people as we target different objectives. Maybe with crypto, maybe with green energy, whatever else. Always have the president partner with a chief visionary officer who helps bring those goals into focus. And here's the ecosystem you really centralize around, Elon. You create this ecosystem for pitch alerts. You make it such that if I have a better idea for how to manage architecture and make encryption impossible, then Sergey Brin can say, here's my pitch for my company, and here's what we're trying to do to make hacking impossible. This is how we think we build the strongest market to solve this problem. And this is a lot of what our government of the people is doing right now. They're trying to talk about how we build the strongest market model to solve specific problems. And that's a multiple businesses thing. How do you build the strongest business models with respect to cybersecurity so that you can have an identity product partner with maybe McAfee or Norton or the existing cybersecurity industry, such that you give them this piece of an algorithm for further compartmentalization and you build this overall cyber force model? That's a key problem we need to solve right now. That may change the cryptocurrency equation, because a lot of what gives them value is having a secure hacking strategy or making their technology very sophisticated and secure. So if there's a better overall strategy for the industry and we need a cyber force, my strategy trumps a lot of those arguments with crypto. In fair point, at least I think that I get to bring up that argument here and now. But our society is getting very complex. And so, again, how best do we position these markets so that we can continue to work on them as a government of the people? And that's why I say we need this. I've got a very complex articles of incorporation. I talk about a standard SP brand where the standard SP model is 80% the top company, the companies driving 80% or more of the market capitalization of each industry. So in AI driving, if Tesla's driving 30-40% of the market, there are a number of other automakers there that are also driving a huge percentage of the market. You're going to argue over how best you structure the foundations of AI driving. And granted, there might be some company that you want to award a contract for helping to make it way safer. And that's how you promote the capitalism for that infrastructure, so that you can have a continued competition to make it as safe as possible. But now we've defined on the world stage how we continue to manage this capitalism. Nobody can call you an oligarch. Whether for how you launch crypto with the unique subtlety of how I talk about creating a reserve, or how you launch strategies with the FAA to make it so that we don't have as many collisions, hopefully zero collisions, and all of these pieces. And so if you create this flexible model where the businesses come to the table and you have this next level of separation of powers, so the government can come to the table to regulate, as long with the business's expertise to help the government understand how to regulate. This is a complex equation now, with a chief visionary officer who helps the public understand this conversation, and really the politicians. You can make it easier for the politicians to follow along. Everybody, this better overall team. And so, Elon, I wanted this to be a 10-minute or less video for you. But it is true that I can open up 4x.com. I think X will be profiting another $3 billion a year. And that's going to open up the door to more advertising sales. A bigger company like Meta might be profiting $20 billion a year off of this strategy. I think this could easily achieve a market capitalization, give it 20 years, a market capitalization of $250 billion a year, $250 billion a year, because it's the best continued education program. Elon will be able to, you'll be able to structure some continued development for your employees and highlight different education content. Maybe you're in conjunction with producing, maybe you're even making some money off of that by helping your employees develop themselves with your company's goals, and bring those goals further into context or focus for those employees who want to develop themselves further and help you chase after your goals. Great ecosystem, all the way up into the president, partnering with helping to actuate us chase after our goals, meaning every company can now recruit more effectively for other people who will help them chase after these goals. You can even channel some strategic reinvestment into partnerships or companies that you have a stake in helping to make succeed. And now you're offsetting your development costs because you're using this broader overall tax system to incentivize people to care about the future. Thus, they're being rewarded for making strategic investments in companies that will make us more competitive on the world stage. And this is how we really succeed at government industrial policy in the future. Now, again, I knew I could make this 250, maybe $50 billion a year market, maybe $250 billion a year market. And I decided I wanted to come up with a way to work with the government with this tax system. Because again, I knew that we could have this strategic reinvestment program, and that would get me, if I was a big owner of a big company, I could probably get somebody to care about something that I'm doing and maybe recruit some phenomenal new idea if I manage it this way. It basically builds a bigger team for me, and I pay for it when somebody comes up with a really good idea, really. So it's a better overall strategy for everybody. And I see these numbers. So if I'm paying with my strategy, $10 billion a year into a tax system that we're trying to dynamically manage with the private sector. And I have this all outlined in my articles of incorporation. This is very complex. I have a Fortune 500 board, and you have your chief visionary officer, and they partner with Shark Tank and The Apprentice. And I've got this all included in this model, Elon. This really cool user interface that centers around, you got to position the education networks to be able to chase after this so that you can click on a post, bring relevant context into focus, where you're at in understanding this issue, what else is relevant in this issue, so that we can help our government of the people chase after this, so that you can click on a post, figure out what's in context, figure out where you're at. Maybe you have some specific badges or credentials that you've earned relevant to these goals. We'll work with LinkedIn's system. Maybe LinkedIn has some special features that are better for them. I talk about this CI squared badging system, and you're also going to have this interactive transcript system. The CI squared badging system relates to a universal product coding architecture and ways that you can open up product development improvement opportunity to the population at scale through a standardized set of ecosystem tools for project managers. And you help project managers open up continued product development or product improvement ideas to their consumer base. And you could earn badges for that. You could earn badges through LinkedIn. You could earn badges through this incredibly versatile credentialing system that the education market should want to work to position us to succeed at. Because again, I imagine, just like I'm targeting a $100 billion a year market here, I imagine there are 75 million students in America, 5 million educators. You're going to be able to build up close to $150 to $100 billion a year market with education. AI driving, I think there's a way, even if you're only looking at 2% sales tax on an auto, that could amount to a $40 billion a year fund. On auto insurance sales, if you consider a 10% sales tax on auto insurance for this overall network, that could be $40 billion. Now, those numbers are high, I argue. But what we're trying to get at here is a network of businesses that are managing a privately, dynamically allocated tax. And if you can get this fund up to, now if it's only $100 billion a year between all of the strategic pivot major market vertical companies, that's capable of producing, you could have an SP equity auction fund of $50 billion in savings bonds. Okay, so you got to understand, I'm trying to target an annual percentage rate. Let's go for 3%. That means if you spend $500 of your tax return on a savings bond to help bail the United States government out of debt, you're promised to achieve 150% returns after 50 years, which is a long time. Most savings bonds, the returns are faster than that. And so this isn't as competitive as it could be, but I'm just trying to show you how these numbers look. But if you get this up to $1 trillion, if you get this up to realistically $500 billion or $1 trillion a year, which we're paying $1 trillion a year in tax right now, or interest to the big banks. If we were paying this to savings bond holders, we would be distributing, it would be more like a stimulus program. Granted, it's a long-term stimulus program, and you've got to try to worry about inflation and whether or not there's going to be enough payoff with inflation to make it worth it. So let's imagine we're able to auction off $300 billion in savings bonds every year because we're making a more advanced government of the people, and we're going to have all these interesting ways people will be able to invest in different companies because we'll be structuring some of our industrial policy through this system. Now, I know your head may be spinning. This is a complex set of initiatives, and I'm over my 10-minute mark goal. But this is worth an hour-long meeting for me and somebody to talk about how you can build this. Elon, you're jumping through hoops trying to reduce costs. Let me show you how we can offset what you have to do here, because I can show you a $30 trillion model where I can generate $30 trillion in savings bonds for you, but you've got to make a more interactive government. You've got to make this long-term privatized Department of Government Efficiency with a chief visionary officer that helps bring our goals into focus. Power this overall ecosystem that I can talk about, where all the social medias are trying to build this project alert system. Maybe different social medias have a different Dropbox or collections of product partnerships. They present their user interface a little different way, but you can still find all of the different projects. They still all map to the same ecosystem, and the social medias are just competing to best serve that, but they all do tie together Just like in medical records, you need things to tie together. With AI driving, you need certain things to tie together. You need these coding systems. Even if AI driving, it's just down to the timestamps. You need these systems. You need libraries that work together. You need to come up with an accounting model for managing this. And if you merge your overhead costs, there is a more efficient model to do this overall. And as we're merging over overhead costs and we're working together at scale as businesses, why don't we try to build this privatized sale tax dynamically managed? Will cover the savings bonds, but by the businesses. The businesses will cover the savings bonds that will bail us out of the national debt, will help the US government, will implement long-term laws that say the United States government can't ever get us this much out of control again. If we need to somehow come up with a strategy to overshoot our GDP, then we need to do it with this private sector by raising this dynamic. You need to convince the private sector that we have to all work together to accomplish. Maybe there's a war we have to pay for. Hopefully we never have to do that again, because we can talk about mutually assured success strategies in the right way. But there is a way that we can cover this long-term savings bond strategy and create a dynamically allocated tax the private sector manages, and in so doing will create a stronger government model that bridges different government ideologies and moves us towards a more unified global system overall. I know this is true. This is why I picked the logo that I did, Elon. I come from a family that wrestled with the implications of communism, and there are such weird patterns in this, Elon. I truly thought that you were managing a simulation. And this might be God's simulation. I don't know who's in charge of this. This is probably some overlap of all of the things. If it's one of them, it's probably all of them. And I hope I haven't offended you in some way, Elon. This is an incredible set of opportunities for the future of the world. And I care about it a lot because I come from a family of veterans. And if there's any sort of simulation going on, I promise you the biggest reason why I've made certain mistakes is because I've been so mentally taxed trying to think about all of these things my whole life, which is why I figured it out. But maybe that sounds crazy, Elon. Maybe this is part of God's plan. There are some super weird patterns. If you're bold enough to work with me, Elon, this might be the most heroic thing anybody has ever done. It's just to tell this story. Don't even worry about what you give me in this. I mean, I would love a job for $100,000 a year. I would love it if I could do certain things for my family. Absolutely. But give me a job at X.com working on how long-term we privatize government efficiency, and I might help you out with Tesla and so many other things you're chasing after. Mars, SpaceX, so many other things you're chasing after. Thank you for your time, Elon. I'm sorry for this being a long video. Hopefully the rest of your team can validate that there is some real content to this and it's worth your time to watch. Thank you.